Chuck was a really nice guy and a very good lawyer, and he said, "I'll never represent that bastard again." So they discovered, and they looked at it, they said there was enough anthrax in the 5 letters that were sent out in this attack to kill 25 million people. And I said, "Dr. Singer, why did you even save this file?" She said, "Mr. Schuler, because this is the most dangerous individual I've ever met or treated in my life. And I knew someday somebody'd be coming to me asking me about it."
Welcome back to Courtside Convo. I'm Dan Dosky from Legal Graphic Works, and I'm really honored to have Richard Schuler join me today. He was the founding partner of Schuler Halverson and later added over back in Weiser and Zoeller, and now you're of counsel at Zoeller Law. Correct. Thank you so much, Mr. Schuler, for joining us.
Dan, it's a pleasure. I've known you for a while, and so I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. Yes, and we have worked together on a number of cases, and it's always been an enjoyable experience. You're a real professional with 50 years in the legal industry. So tell me about that. I know you served in the Army as a medic.
Right.
I would assume before law school. Just tell us about your life a little bit and how you ended up in the law practice.
Like most lawyers, I kind of backed into it. I was a pre-med undergraduate at Cornell University, and got a C+ in organic chemistry, so my future getting into medical school didn't look too bright at that point.
Okay.
So I always had kind of an English major with a chemistry minor, so I continued with the English major. And then I had one friend whose brother went to law school, and I talked with him, and that kind of got the idea to do it, because I had no lawyers in my family,
Okay.
So I went to Syracuse Law School. You're right, I had to take a year off as a combat medic in the Army. This is during the Vietnam War era. I didn't go to Vietnam, but I saw the results of it because I ended up serving at Brooke Army Medical Center in San Antonio, Texas, which is the biggest Army hospital and had a big burn center. So I saw all the soldiers that were coming back, missing limbs and scarred up from shrapnel and burns and everything. So that was a kind of a tough time, and obviously very difficult for those young men. But I saw some good stories of recoveries there. So I was interested initially in kind of being a corporate office lawyer, but the more I learned about the law, the more I got interested in doing litigation. And so I just ended up here in Florida. By luck, a friend of mine in law school said he was aware of a job opening in Palm Beach County. This is back in 1972. And I got here, had an appointment, and then I got here, made the phone call to confirm the appointment. That job had been filled, so I figured Southern hospitality isn't going to treat me very well here.
Right.
So I went door to door and got a job with a firm called Wood Cobb & Robinson, real estate and probate firm. Again, just bored to tears with real estate and probate.
All right, now let me back up for a second.
Yeah.
You said something very interesting. You went door to door to find a job at a law firm. That's
Yes.
not something that I don't think people do that today. Do they?
No,
Okay.
they don't.
Different time.
Different time. I had a bunch of resumes literally under my arm, literally had mapped out. I got Martindale Hubble, and I mapped out where the firms were in West Palm Beach, Fort Lauderdale, and Miami. And so when I didn't even get an interview for the initial appointment I had, I went door to door, and I actually went to Fort Lauderdale and Miami. I had a job offer in Miami, but as soon as I saw West Palm Beach get off the plane, I loved it. And, I said, I'll take whatever they want to pay me to live in this environment, literally. And, of course, it was a different town then. Jupiter had less than 1,000 residents.
Right.
West Palm Beach was about 35,000 at the time. Only 200 members of the Bar Association. Now they're about 6,000, I think.
Yeah.
So you kind of knew everybody, and there weren't that many judges. You got to know the judges. And coming from, New York, and I took the New York bar, and I passed that as a fallback position in case I didn't like it down here. And but coming from a big city surrounding like that, I wasn't sure I'd like the small town, but within 6 or 8 months and the people I met, I grew to love it, Yeah. And of course, then it started to grow.
Right.
But
So how did you come to, go out on your own and found your own firm? What were the early days like there?
Well, I was hired by Bob Montgomery, and that was really, I look at that as kind of my big break, because Bob was, if you're ever familiar with him,
Yeah.
he's one of the premier lawyers in the state and the country, for that
Absolutely.
matter. And so I got to be his main associate. So I tried a lot of cases with him and learned a lot. I was made a partner there in his firm about 4.5 years in. Aetna Casualty and Surety Company, because we were shifting to do plaintiffs work, came to me and said, if you want to open your own firm, we'll give you all of our business in a 5-county area: Palm Beach, Martin, St. Lucie, Indian River, and Okeechobee, 12 cases a month. And it was an offer, even though I was a partner in that firm, I couldn't turn down.
Yeah.
So that's how I ended up opening originally Schuler and Wilkerson. Jim Wilkerson came with me.
Okay. Yeah.
And then it was Schuler, Wilkerson, Halverson, and Schuler, Wilkerson, Halverson, and Williams. And then it went back to Schuler and Halverson, and then Weiser and Overbeck and Zoeller and so
Right.
forth were made partners.
Okay.
So
So
we
when
had-
you opened up, you actually were an insurance company firm?
We did both. We
Okay.
represented Aetna Casualty and Surety Company, but we also did about 50% plaintiffs work as
Wow.
well.
Okay.
Yeah.
You don't see that anymore
No,
either.
no, it's very unusual. And obviously we couldn't take any cases against an Aetna insured.
Right.
And they insured big insured. They insured Coca-Cola. They insured most of the big sugar growers out in the Glades. I think AT&T, all the big name companies that were down here were virtually all Aetna insured. So we used to get some horrendous cases from a defense, trucks hitting people and
Right.
causing grievous injuries. And so I tried a lot of cases back then. And one of the interesting cases I mentioned was a case against my client, who was a sugar grower, and oversprayed the field and killed 700 acres worth of radishes, allegedly. So we had a 2-week trial on that.
You told me also earlier about your first $1 million case, and I thought that was a great story with some famous South Floridians. So tell us about that.
That case was around right after I joined Bob Montgomery, and that case was a case against John MacArthur, who people around today just probably know MacArthur Beach State Park, which was property he owned that he donated as named for him.
It was a huge, basically all of Palm Beach Gardens, probably some of Jupiter.
The entire
it was
northern Palm Beach County.
Yeah.
Tried to get Disney down here. That's a side story, but they didn't want to do it. But John MacArthur lived in the Colonnades Beach Hotel over on Singer Island and was notoriously tight-fisted with his money. And he was America's first billionaire. And so in my case, my clients and he had sat at the coffee shop at the Colonnades, and they drafted a contract literally on the back of a brown paper bag, handwritten by John MacArthur and signed by everybody. I think there was a lawyer there, Luke Taylor, who was an old-time real estate lawyer. I think he was there as well, as I recall. And in any event, he sold my clients what is now Frenchman's Creek for $4.5 million, the whole development. There were no houses there yet, but it had been plotted. There were some streets in there. It was ready to be developed.
Right.
The water and sewer and so forth had been put in. But after my clients made the original down payment, as weeks went by, he thought he had sold it for too little. Mm-hmm. And so he would not give a deed to my clients when the time came to transfer ownership. And so that's how we ended up suing him. We sued him to get their money back, plus lost profit and so forth.
Right.
And the case ultimately settled for $1 million. But as I told you, it's the only case I've ever been involved in. Chuck Nugent represented John MacArthur. MacArthur called him one day and said, "Let's have some fun with the lawyers." Or called my client and said, "Let's have some fun with the lawyers. I'm going to pay you $1 million. I know that's what you want to settle it, but let's see the deal that they negotiate." My client came to me and told me about that. And Chuck Nugent was the only one that was in the dark. So when I negotiated with him, I already knew what the bottom line was. And as he got up from $650 to $7 to $7.25 to $8, finally he got to $900,000. He said, "Richard, give me a break. Let me at least go back, with my client and tell him we got a settlement." And I said, "Chuck," then I told him, I said, "Chuck, I know that our clients have already settled this case without us for $1 million, and they just wanted to see what we negotiated." And I heard a dead silence. some words that weren't too nice. And Chuck was a really nice guy and a very good lawyer. And he said, "I'll never represent that bastard again." So that was my first $1 million case.
Right.
And
What a way to get to it.
And in order to get the $1 million, we had to fly to Chicago, one of MacArthur's banks that he owned up there, put identification up against the glass door after hours. He was like, wanted to be like a James Bond type guy, you know, open the door and then they gave us the cashier's check and fly back. And, you know.
Right. Interesting. Just interesting,
Yeah.
interesting character. So, you know, another case that was certainly more of a you know, darker, scary period in American history was the Anthrax case with Bob Stevens. How did you get involved in that, and how did that case resolve?
I got involved in it because the late Tom Woolley, who was a lawyer in Boynton Beach, great guy, is the one who referred the case to me. And this is, now it's easy to look back on it, but at the time, we didn't know who did it, where the person came from.
It was a mysterious bioweapons
and
case coming on the heels of September 11th.
Literally 10 days, within 10 days of 9/11 was the Anthrax attack. And so with that attack, Bob Stevens, who worked as a photo editor at American Media in Boca, which is the Inquirer, and you know, 4 or 5, they were the biggest newspaper publishers in the world at the time. And he'd gotten an envelope. He was nearsighted, so he had to hold things close to his face. When the envelope was opened, he obviously breathed in the anthrax, and nobody knew. They thought originally he had the flu, and he came down with bad symptoms. They put him in quarantine over in JFK Hospital, and ultimately anthrax eats all your internal organs, and if you don't get Cipro, you know, within 3 days, you know, you are 100%, it's 100% fatal. So he died, and then we started down the road, the biggest FBI investigation ever. They had 25 agents on it. They took over 9,000 statements. We got all of the FBI files, so heavily redacted, but we had to get all the files and go through all the statements and everything and try and figure out who did this, and ultimately came down to a fellow by the name of Bruce Ivins, who worked at the United States Army Research Institute for Infectious Diseases called USAMRIID in Fort Detrick, Maryland. And that became my home for many months, going up there, taking depositions. I never got to take Ivins' deposition because after we'd been involved in the case for at least a couple of years before it all started to come out about him. So I had a pretty good idea that it came from certain people that had knowledge, and but when Ivins was discovered, and they took the DNA from the anthrax in my client's spinal fluid, and they did a reconstruction of the DNA there. Then they matched it to anthrax that Bruce Ivins had on his desk in a flask, RMR 129 he called it. It became like a DNA fingerprint, you know. You're the guy that had the anthrax that did it. And so we ended up settling with the government. And, you know, we had Judge Hurley, who's a phenomenal judge, and there were so many things. Every deposition that we took had to be in a soundproof room. Everybody had to sign off that nothing would be repeated from the deposition because there were national security secrets involved. I took the deposition of an individual in the government who was head of a bioterrorism study that they had done after this. And they discovered, and they looked at it, they said there was enough anthrax in the 5 letters that were sent out in this attack to kill 25 million people. And so we were very lucky that they caught on to this, that wasn't spread more. My client was one of 5 people that died. Unfortunately, the other 4 let the statute of limitations run before they got involved. They could have come to me and I would have helped them, but they were New York lawyers. They didn't come to me until it was too late. I had already developed a lot of information that I would have shared with them. And ultimately, we settled the case for almost $3 million, which the only reason we took that low an amount was because there's a rule in the government. When you sue the government, if it's somebody did something on purpose, the government is not responsible. If it's negligent, then the government's responsible. And so the government had filed a summary judgment motion and wanted to get out of the case. And I was concerned about that. And there was bad precedent for us on that. And so my argument was, we're not suing him for what he did. We're suing for the negligent security that was at USAMRIID at the time. They didn't keep inventory control. They didn't have good physical security. And they didn't do any background checks. Bruce Ivins had been to a psychiatrist. They never checked out the psychiatrist before they gave him a top secret clearance. When I took the psychiatrist deposition 25 years after she saw him, I didn't expect her to remember him. She walks in with a file, and I said, "Dr. Singer, why did you even save this file?" She said, "Mr. Schuler, because this is the most dangerous individual I've ever met or treated in my life, and I knew someday somebody'd be coming to me asking me about him." So,
wow.
Yeah. So that was testimony in the case.
What a case.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
So with all of these things, what would you like to be thought of as your legacy on our legal community?
Oh, wow. Again, this is going to sound like blowing my own horn here, but I served as president of the Palm Beach County Bar Association and on the board for many years. I was president of the Palm Beach County Justice Association, served on that board for many years. Same with the BOTA, American Board of Trial Advocates. I enjoyed making a contribution to the legal community and helping out other lawyers. And I hope, and I've never turned anybody down that's called me asking for advice. Still, people call me years later that, really don't need the advice at this point. But that's the thing I feel best about, I think. And also helping out certain families that really needed it. I represent the family of Yolanda Santos, who was kidnapped from her school off of Palm Beach Lakes Boulevard. I think it's called Lincoln Elementary now.
Okay.
And wasn't found for a year. Then they found her bones with ligature around her neck. She'd been strangled. And I was able to get the school board, to pay what their, maximum exposure was in that case.
Right.
Because they let her go with somebody who wasn't an authorized person to pick her up in school. So different things like that.
Yeah. Some of the tools over the years have changed too. What are some of your favorite, techniques or just tools in the attorney's toolbox that you found to be effective over the years, or just things like you said, people come to you for advice. What do you tell them?
Yeah, I think I was one of the first lawyers in Palm Beach County, and again, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but this was probably in the early to mid '80s. And it wasn't my idea originally, but I got the idea from a jury selection person that I should do, if I'm going to try a case, do mock juries. So I started doing mock juries, and that was a great technique. And I've never, even to this day, really had a mock jury be wrong. Even to the numbers, they get very close on the numbers to what a real jury does. So I think that was one thing, one technique that I perfected it over time,
Right.
And so that's one thing. As far
how
as
would you get the cross section right? Like when you know what I'm saying?
Yes,
Cross
to
section
get the right
of
people
jurors
to
in
give
the
you.
mock panel.
Yeah. Well, what I would do is I would ask for 8 because, and this evolved over time.
Yeah.
I would always ask for 8 because I found out the real jury is 6, but I found out that with 8 you get more conversation and more diversity, and you achieve more because you get. And I'm there to really listen to what they have to say, not necessarily what their verdict is.
Right.
The issues that concern them and that they talk about. And so the way I get the people is to go to Personnel Plus, for example, a company that specializes in supplying administrative personnel to businesses.
Right.
And I'll get people that I pay them by the hour, and I would ask for a diversity of age and also sex. So I want men and women, diversity of age, diversity of race if possible, so that I have kind of a cross section.
Right.
And I would ask for that specifically.
Yeah.
So that
And you did that in the market that you were working in, where the case was.
Yes, if I was doing it here, I would do it here. I just did one in Martin County, but so I had people come from I had Martin County. I did it in Martin County.
Yeah.
I had a big case over in Citrus County on the West Coast. It was a medical malpractice case where they literally killed a woman with an overdose of narcotic medication, and on a minor surgery, 47 years old, left 7 children. So when I did the mock jury there, I did it in Citrus County because it's a much more rural county than
Right,
here.
different demographics, different thought process. For sure.
Yes, yeah. So
hospital's probably maybe one of the biggest employers too.
No question about it.
Yeah.
And it was Seven Rivers Hospital, which there's 2 hospitals, which was the smaller one of the 2 that are in that county. But yet, you're right.
Yeah.
They employed a lot of people. We had to be careful. We started the trial in that case. The case eventually settled before a verdict, but we picked the jury, and we had to be really careful because of that.
Yeah.
So, but that was a very sad case because of the situation, and it's just total mistake.
Right.
The doctor wrote the prescription for too much. The nurses doubled up on that, and so they basically put her to sleep permanently.
Right.
So
one of the things that we've worked together on over the years, I'm a video journalism storyteller background person, is settlement documentaries, and I don't know. I mean, it's been at least a dozen, but probably 20 or so that we worked together on, over the years. What is it about that tool, if you want to settle a case, that makes it so effective?
Well, I think what makes it so effective is that forces the defense attorney and the adjusters to actually see the affected party. So if you have someone who has a severe injury, like a young man I represented was a quadriplegic diving into a pool that had no numbers on it for depth, or someone who's lost a family member and has kids, and you see their struggles. In the Moyer case I had years ago, the man was dying. We had to and he had already had an amputation of his hand at the wrist, and then he had an amputation of the arm, and then what they call four-quarter amputation. So we showed the phases of the agony he was going through, and that, I think, for day in the life type videos is phenomenal. I don't think there's any substitute for it. It's better than, they say, a picture's worth 1,000 words, and to me, those are very powerful. So, and I'm sure that we'll be doing a few more together.
Right. Hope so. So, moving forward with Zoeller Law, are you stepping back a little bit? Is it time to slow down, or everything just got reorganized? What's the future of your career look like?
Well, that's a really good question, Dan. My wife would like me to quit immediately, but I told her, I said, I'll never be as good a golfer or fisherman as I am an attorney. So, and I'll get bored sitting around, frankly. So I'm working a full schedule. I'm working 5 days a week. I am taking more time off.
Yeah.
And so we went to Southeast Asia not too long ago. Went to the Amazon fishing in the middle of the jungle, which was interesting.
The river monsters. The
river monsters.
I've watched that show. Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly.
See anything interesting?
Yes, we saw Baku, which is a 120-pound fish in the river. I didn't catch it. I caught the smaller ones, the peacock bass, but they're still pretty big.
Yeah.
But so I'm taking more time off and traveling a little bit more. I'm very blessed to be in really good health. I take the doctors every time I go in for a doctor to see a doctor. What medications are you taking? None. I I don't take any medications, and what? No blood pressure, no cholesterol, all this stuff. And I've got low cholesterol and low blood pressure and all that stuff. So I've been blessed physically. What we do, as you know, it's a very physically draining job in a way, emotionally draining job. So
right.
you kind of have to be in decent shape, But I've got some trials coming up. We'll see how I do with those. I'm going to have some help. Right. I told the people in the office, I said, I'm not going to do the solo 60 witness, which I've done.
Yeah.
6-week, 60 witness trial that I did basically myself. Lost 12 pounds doing it.
Right.
I don't think physically I'd do that anymore. But I'm looking forward to it. When you've had as many trials as I've had, and I've had a bunch of them. I think I lost count, around 200 or something. But it's it's everyone is different.
Yeah.
But it is physically, you have to be very alert. Your concentration level has to be up there. It's intense. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. But I'm right now, I'm not planning to retire. I'm working a full schedule, and I want everybody to know that. So, they can call me.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for spending some time with us today, and thank you for your service, not only to our country, but our community. I really appreciate you taking the time with us.
Well, thank you, Dan. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
If you'd like to appear on Courtside Convo, send us an email or visit us at legalgraphicworks.com. Look for new episodes every Thursday on the Legal Graphic Works YouTube channel, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss a show. Thanks for watching.